Hi guys. Today was just another day in the life of a targeted individual. So it was initially quiet in the morning. There was one thump, but then it was quiet, and I was just I was not in a good mood today, and I was already frustrated with a lot of things, and I was kind of almost to the point of a panic attack, but not quite. And so of course I sat down to just relax a little bit, and then they started tapping right above me, and I tried to get it quickly on my cell phone, but they stopped as soon as I turned the phone on. So I didn't capture the footage today of that happening, but I did get other footage, which I'm going to show you guys later after this, after my commentary. So what happened today? As I said, buying necessary supplies can be difficult. When it comes now, people know that I've been doing keto. I was doing keto. I'm trying to come off that now, but I still want to monitor my blood sugar. And I've been monitoring my blood sugar for a while now, but I started to run out of the little glucose strips. Now, what I did was, when I purchased the monitor, which was pretty cheap, is it's not the monitor that cost a lot. It's the glucose strips that cost a lot. So I got the store brand instead of a name brand, which kind of locks me into getting the glucose strips at the same store that I got that I got the monitor at, that is the brand name for the monitor. So I have to keep going back to that store or some location of that store. It doesn't have to be that particular one. That was probably a bad idea, because the last time I went to try to get those strips there, when I left, I guess they didn't demagnetize it or something because the alarm went off. And I said, hey, can you demagnetize this or something, whatever it is that they do and they said, oh, they waved me away. No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I wish they would have just demagnetized it, because what happens is, and this keeps happening to me, where especially if I'm purchasing medical supplies, I'll go to the store, and as I'm leaving, the alarm goes off. And only one time at a different store did they actually demagnetize it, and then I went back out and everything was fine. But typically they won't. And what I want is to go back, have them, do whatever they have to do to make sure, so that it's understood that it's purchased, whatever it is that demagnetization, I don't know, so that I can go out without the thing going off. That way people know that I'm innocent, right? Because what's happening is, the perpetrators who follow me around are trying to catch me looking guilty. Right, when they do something like this, it's not that they're trying to have the cops called on me right then, because they know that I didn't do anything wrong, right? The cameras are all over the store, so they can't set me up for anything like that. But it's not about setting me up for something like that, for having the cops having the cops come and taking me away. It's not about that. It's simply about getting footage of me once again looking guilty. And I think, this is how they make their false reports. They continue. Not only do they provoke the targets to outburst, and they capture that and then use that against the targets, but anytime the target might look guilty in public, they can use that too and say, see, he needs to be monitored, or she needs to be monitored, or whatever the case may be. And the more times they catch a target in that situation, the easier it is to prove to the masses who don't bother to get the facts that the target did something, right, and needs to be monitored. And since the target is never allowed to speak on his or her own behalf and defend himself against these accusations, the masses just believe it and go along with it, and the accusations never end. That suspicion, it never ends, and whatever investigation is a false investigation continues on. That's how they get the masses to allow them to go along with this, and to even help them go along with this. It's a false investigation, one that never ends, even when they know the target is innocent, right? Because they're continuously trying to set the target up, and then they don't let the target respond, right? I mean, if you consider even convicted criminals were allowed a defense, but the targets of organized stalking are not, unfortunately. This is the problem with, not, even at stores, if they think you stole something, they're not going to take you back and check you right then and then clear your name, right? They're going to let you go, and unfortunately, you'll always appear guilty, even though the people behind the camera know you didn't do anything. The masses who saw that security system go off, to them you're going to be guilty, because the liars behind the camera are not going to clear your name. They're not going to clear your name. People will never hear the truth. That's the problem. So that's what's happening. And so again, they got more footage today of me looking guilty when I wasn't. So what happened was, I went to the store because I needed more of the glucose strips. I was running out. And I really didn't want to do this. Today I just bought, I bought double what I actually need for the next few months so I don't have to make this trip very often. I went to the store, and as I was waiting in line, some, very large, obese white guy came by. He walked in, he came by, and he kind of looked at me, looked at his cell phone, looked back at me, made the facial gesture, so I knew something was up. And people had been doing that all day, not all day, but since I had been out. And I figured, oh, well, they're just letting me know that they're there. But when he did that, I was a little worried. I knew something was up. So when I went to check out, I assumed the guy demagnetized the box of glucose strips and, the lancets. I got some lancets too. I assumed he demagnetized it, or whatever it is they do so that the thing doesn't go off, the security alarm doesn't go off. Well, I walked out and the alarm went off. So then I went back and I stood there for a few moments, and he's looking at me like he's very curious, like what? And don't get me wrong, he didn't seem mean or anything. I don't even think this was his fault. But I said, hey, the thing went off, the alarm went off. Do you want to demagnetize this? And he says, no, just go ahead. So of course I went ahead, and it went off again as I left. So the perpetrators now got twice the footage of me looking guilty when I wasn't. And this just keeps happening. Anyway, I got the footage. This has happened before so many times, and the footage is always garbage. It's always garbage. It's never usable because I have my camera on my arm. I'm moving my arm, and it just looks like muck. I mean, if you watch, you'll get dizzy and disoriented and maybe vomit. I don't know. But this time the footage came out all right. So I'm gonna start posting this every time it happens. Every time. This is all I can do at this point. Yeah, I'm doing what I can. And the trouble with it, with all of this is, something like this, I can't just buy online. Buying it online gives the perpetrators more time to tamper with it, right? The glucose strips, they can be tampered with. First of all, once you open the seal, there's a time limit. At some point, they do expire, or they're not as good. They won't work as well after a certain point. And two, if you get them wet, there are ways to screw them up, and that can be dangerous. When I need an accurate blood sugar reading, I want to know, is my blood sugar too high? Is my blood sugar too low? Because that determines what I need to do, right? Do I need to have a few more carbohydrates, a few less carbohydrates? If I don't have an accurate reading, I don't know that. This is very dangerous. And then two, when you consider the lancets, think about what they can do to that, right? So I cannot order this online because there are too many opportunities for them to tamper with it, whether it's, at the warehouse or on the way there, they can, bribe a mail worker or even steal something, and then, or when it's sitting here waiting in the building, they can do something to it. My mom said, well, they can do something at the store too, and they can. She's right. But what can I do? What can I do? I have to, this is just the difficulty of being a targeted individual. And this, my friends, was yet one more day in the life of a targeted individual. Peace. Thank you. Have a good one. Every time. You want to demagnetize it? The thing went off.